Hello dear viewers, I didn't expect you here. Do you wanna understand and speak the ancient Egyptian language? Really? Then you're at the right place, because we here at Ancient Egyptian Language Revival bring back the ancient Egyptian language as a spoken language through sketches. At the beginning of every episode, we will present you a sketch. The grammar will be analyzed and practiced together. Then we will deal with some etymology. Don't wonder if the sketches are a bit repetitive. This is because we want you to remember the grammar better. Let's watch our first sketch together.
Nanne heter Owe. Nanne heter Owe. Se. Nanne heter Owe Kosmos. Nanne. Heko. Heko. Uom. 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 Naark. Naark. Emmon. Pihat. 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 Se. Pihat. Emau. Pihat. Hent. Sallo. Pihat. Hent. Sallo. Se. Pihat. Why is now Shoment Fto'u. Fto'u. Why oik is now hen fel Shoment Ufech Fto'u hen benne. Se. Why oik snaw hen fel Shoment Ufech Fto'u hen benne. Se. Nanne. Se. Nanne heter Owe. Nanne heter Owe Kime. Kime. Why oik is now hen fel Shoment Ufech Fto'u hen benne. Why oik is now hen fel Shoment Ufech Fto'u hen benne. Se. Nanne. Nanne heter Owe Agora. Agora. Ashpepai. Ashpepai. Pai u emgolpe. Pai u emgolpe. Nai hen emgolne. Nai hen emgolne. Pai uma en emgolpe. Pai uma en emgolpe. Emgol. Emgol. Emmon.
Ashpepai. Ashpepai. Pi utebet p. Pi utebet p. Nai. Nai hentebet ni. Nai hentebet ni. Pi uma en tebet p. Pi uma en tebet p. Tebet. 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 Emmon.
Oik, oik. Oik, oik. Oik, oik.
Dan het oei.
Dan heeft het oei.
Ashnenai.
Nee, oik, nee.
Se. Nai hen oik ni. Nai hen oik ni. Pi oik p. Pi oik p. Pi uma en oik p. Pi uma en oik p. Oik. Se. Oik. Oik. Oik.
Het is je weg moet.
Tishbet moet ugai.
Ogai.
Ugai.
Oik, oik. Oik, oik.
Ashpepai. Ashpepai. Pi u Herman p. Pi u Herman p. Nai hen Herman ne. Nai hen Herman ne. Pi uma en Herman p. Pi uma en Herman p. Herman. Herman, Herman. Herman, Herman. Emmon. Ashnenai. Ashnenai. Nai henshgin ne. Nai henshgin ne. Pi uma en shgin p. Pi uma en shgin p. Shgin. Shgin, 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 shgin. Emmon.
Fel, 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 fel.
Dan heet het oei.
Nani het oei.
Ashnenai.
Nai hen fel ni.
Se. Nai. Henfelni. Nai. Henfelni. Pi. Ufel p. Pi. Ufel p. Henfel. Henfel, henfel, henfel. Se. Henfel. Henfel.
Tishe behmut.
Tishebet moet ugai.
Ugai bahit.
Ugai.
Ugai.
Ashpepai. Ashpepai. Pi u ire p. Pi u ire p. Pi uma en ire p. Pi uma en ire p. Ire. Ire, ire. Emmon. Ashnenai. Ashnenai. Nai hen af ne. Nai hen af ne. Pi uma en af p. Pi uma en af p. Af. Af, af, af. Emmon.
نانيه تقوي
أشنناي
نايهن فخني
سي ناي هنفخني ناي هنفخني باي وفخ بي باي وفخ بي باي وما ان فخ بي باي وما ان فخ بي وفخ 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 سي وفخ ناني وفخ 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 وفخ
تيشي بحمد
تيجي بحمد وجاي
وجاي
أشبه باي أشبه باي إروتة إروتة باي وما إن إروتة بي باي وما إن إروتة بي إروتة 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 أمون أشبه باي أشبه باي باي ونه بي باي ونه بي باي وما النه بي باي وما النه بي نه 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 امون
بنه
ناني هتقوي
نانيه تقوي
عشان ناي
نايهن بنني
سي ناي همبنني ناي همبنني تاي وبنتي تاي وبنتي باي وما ان بن بي باي وما ان بن بي همبن همبن سي همبن 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 همبن
تيشي بحمد
تشبه متوجاي
وجاي
ناني وأويك هنفل وفخ همبنة وجاي أبو غاب وجاي ناني هتقوي. Do you already know what ناني هتقوي means? Right, ناني هتقوي means good morning. Could you guess what ناني هتقوي means? Correct! Nanehu means good day. We used a lot of grammar in this sketch, which we want to analyze and practice together. But before we do that, I want to show you the time phases of the Egyptian language. We distinguish between Old Egyptian, Middle Egyptian, Late Egyptian, Thematic and Coptic, whereby the Coptic language period is the youngest of them. We will deal with this language period. Don't be too concerned with the timetable. This is just a rough idea when what was spoken. There are many Coptic dialects. The two main dialects are the Sahidic Coptic and the Bahiric Coptic. We will deal with the Sahidic Coptic because this dialect is best learned from textbooks. The whole grammar of the videos are based on two books. The first one is called Introduction to Sahidic Coptic by Thomas O. Lampton. The second one is called Middle Egyptian by James P. Allen. You can learn reading the Coptic script as well as the hieroglyphics through those books or through other videos. Now to the grammar which was used in the sketch. We want to discuss 4 topics today: definite articles, indefinite articles, demonstrative pronouns and non-verbal sentences with nominal predicates. Definite articles. There are 2 grammatical genders in Coptic.
the masculine and the feminine. Our first masculine example for a noun is oik, which means bread, and our first feminine example for a noun is benne, which means date. Which definite article we write before a noun is depending on the gender of the noun and if the noun is singular or plural. Masculine singular nouns get the definite articles p or p, feminine singular nouns get t or t, and plural nouns in both genders get n, ne, n, or m. The fuller forms p, t, and ne are used basically when the noun starts with two consonants. There are more rules to the definite articles which you can look up in the already mentioned book of Thomas A. Lambton in chapter 1.3. The noun oik is a masculine noun and it starts with two vowels, an omicron and an epsilon, so it does not get the fuller form p but p, so it's poik. Benne is a feminine noun and it starts with a b and a supralinear stroke, which counts as a vowel, so the word does not start with two consonants, and we use t and not the fuller form t, so it's tbenne. You can see that poik becomes neoik in the plural and tbenne becomes nebenne. You may have noticed that oik and benne do not have changed in the plural. This is not the case for every noun. There's a relatively small amount of nouns that change in the plural. If you want to know the gender of a noun, then you have to use a dictionary. In the rear part of the already mentioned book of Thomas A. Lambton, you find a very good dictionary, or you use an online dictionary. I'm here in the page Coptic-dictionary.org. Here you have a search bar where you can, for example, search for the noun bread. You can see that bread is oik. You can click on it and it leads you to this page. You can see that here stands an M, which stands for masculine. If there would be an F, it would stand for feminine. Below you have a blue link. The link will lead you to one of the most important dictionaries in the Coptic language. It's the dictionary of Walter Aaron Crum. And you can also see here that the word oik, the noun oik, is a masculine noun. In the page before you have also a very useful tool. It's called the lemma phrase network graph. If you click here and you zoom in, you can see that the word oik gets in the singular the definite article p, so it's poik, and in the plural it gets the definite article n, so it's neoik.
Please remember that we use for masculine nouns the articles p and p, for feminine nouns we use t and t, and for plural nouns we use n and ne. The fuller forms p, t and ne are used when the noun starts with two consonants. There are more rules to this which you can look up in Thomas A. Lambton's book in chapter 1.3. Now we have discussed the definite articles. Definite articles are used when you want to say that bread, so a certain bread, or that certain breads. But how do you say a bread, so an uncertain indefinite bread, or indefinite breads? For that we use the indefinite articles.
Indefinite article. In the Coptic language we use in the singular the indefinite article u, and in the plural the indefinite article hen. So uoik would be a bread and henoik would be some breads. A characteristic of the indefinite article in the Coptic language is that you use it when you want to talk about something in general. So henoik would not just be some breads but also bread in general, and umu would be water in general. If you want to know which indefinite article you use for which noun, you have to look it up in the literature.
If you want to say in Coptic, this is a book, or this is a date, or this are some books, or this are some dates, then you use the demonstrative pronouns pi, tai, and nai. there are also other demonstrative pronouns which we will discuss in the future.
Demonstrative pronouns and nonverbal sentences with nominal predicates. Like I've mentioned, are the demonstrative pronouns pi for masculine singular, tai for feminine singular, and for both genders in the plural, nai. We come to our first sentences. If you want to say, this is a fish, you can say pi utabit pi or utabit pi pi. The demonstrative pronoun pi is here the subject of the sentence. Utabit is an indefinite noun and acts as the predicate of the sentence. P is called the copula, the tie or the link. If the predicate of the sentence is an indefinite noun, you have to put the copula after the predicate. The subject can be put before or after the grammatical construct predicate plus copula. You can find more information about the copula and the sentence position in Lambton's book in lesson 5.
Now we want to practice what we have learned so far. How would you say some breads, some indefinite breads? Very good. Some indefinite breads are hen oik. How would you say that certain bread? That certain bread would be peoik. How would you say that certain date? Good. That certain date is tibenne. How would you say an indefinite date? So any date, a date. Very good. A date is ubenne. Nane. Now I'm going to put some stuff into the screen and ask you ashpepai or ashtetai or ashnenai. Hereby is ash the interrogative pronoun. I want you to answer me this question with a non-verbal sentence with nominal predicate. Let's go. Ashnenai. Ashnenai. Good. Nai hentabit ne. Nai hentabit ne. And ashpepai. Ashpepai. Right. Pi uoik p. Pi uoik p. And ashtetai. Ashtetai.
Tai u bene te. Tai u bene te. Nane.
Now to our etymology part. Etymology deals with the history of words. I want to give you one etymological example from the Sahidic Coptic language to the Middle Egyptian language and the hieroglyphics, and another etymological example from the Sahidic Coptic language to the in Egypt today spoken language to the Egyptian Arabic language.
I'm here in the book Middle Egyptian by James P. Allen in chapter 5.8. You have to know that in the Middle Egyptian language there were no articles, but there were demonstrative pronouns like you can see here. For the masculine singular there was pen, pef, pfa, pu and pa. For the feminine singular there was ten, tef, tfa, tu and ta. And for both genders in the plural there was nen, nef, nfa, nu and na. In course of time, these demonstrative pronouns became, through the thematic language and the late Egyptian language, to our Coptic articles. So the masculine singular became p and p, the feminine singular became t and t, and both genders in the plural became n and ni.
This was our first etymological connection to the Middle Egyptian language and the hieroglyphics. Now I want to present you our first etymological connection to the in Egypt today spoken language, Egyptian Arabic.
I am now going to show you a part of a movie from the 80s. It's called Ahl Kamma. In this part, a man from the right will appear and will say ish ish, because the man is wondering where the man in the suit got his new clothes from. Let's see together.
أنا عمري ما نسيتكم. إيش اللي هتوقع فينا شجاعتك ما تنوقش اخر ايافه واللي خالق ايدك والمحفظه محفظه.
Esh is a variation of the interrogative pronoun ash, like from ash bepai. Esh is an expression we still use today in Egypt in the Egyptian Arabic language, which you can derive etymological from the Coptic language.
Now you have seen how the Saheli Coptic language is connected to the Middle Egyptian language and the hieroglyphics, and how the Saheli Coptic language is connected to the in Egypt today spoken language Egyptian Arabic. We are at the end of our episode now. I hope you have learned a lot today and that we will see you again in the next episode. Ugai!
Welcome back to another episode of Ancient Egyptian Language Tutorial. I want to start this episode with the Egyptian spring celebration called shamunim. On shamunim, people go out, they enjoy nature, they eat special food like, for example, colored eggs and fermented fish. There is also another tradition in Egypt that the first person that wakes up in the morning wakes up the other people by holding a half-cut onion under their noses, so that people wake up with the smell of onions. Shamanism is also mentioned in Egyptian cinema and music videos. In this clip, the famous Egyptian singer Amri Diab sings in the movie Ice Cream in Gleam. The people feel the code, and in our hearts is shamanism. If you're an Arabic speaker, you might think that the term shamanism has something to do with smelling, because the word for smelling in Arabic, yashim, sounds very similar to the beginning of the term shamanism.
بس هي ريحتها شوية عاملة زي ريحة الشغل عندنا.
ما هي لازم تبقى ريحتها كده عشان شم النسيم. ما هو اسمه يعني شم ليه؟ عشان يعني الروايح دي كده تملى الدنيا واحنا نقعد نشم.
عاملة زي ريحة الموميا قبل ما تنسف.
Shamanism is not an Arabic term, it is an ancient Egyptian term, which we want to discuss in our grammar part. In this episode, we want to discuss the genitive. There are two types of genitives in the Middle Egyptian language. There is the direct genitive and the indirect genitive. If you want to say stars of the sky in the Middle Egyptian language and you want to use a direct genitive, then you say spa'u pet. Spa'u pet. So the first noun is the owned thing and the second noun is the owner or the owning thing. So it's the stars of the sky. The indirect genitive is called indirect genitive because you put a word between the owned thing and the owner. If the owned thing is masculine singular, then you use n. If the owned thing is masculine plural, then you use nu. And if it's feminine, in both cases, singular or plural, then you use net. If we want to say the language of Egypt, then we say Ra and Kemet. Ra is the language, it's the owned thing, it's written first before the owning thing, Egypt. We use an indirect genitive, so we put a word between the owned thing and the owning thing. In this case we use n because Ra is a masculine noun. Feminine nouns have the letter t at the end. Before we continue our main topic, the genitive, I want to discuss with you some basics for reading hieroglyphs. which you find in the book Middle Egyptian by James P. Allen. One of the first questions you might ask is, what is the reading direction? This is very easy to figure out. You always read in the opposite direction the animals and the humans are looking at. In this example, the owl is looking in this direction. So the reading direction is this. Reading the Egyptian hieroglyphs is not that hard. You only have to be aware of some things. There are the so-called unilateral signs, bilateral signs, and triliteral signs. The unilateral signs are like our alphabet. They give you for every symbol a sound. In the word kemet, we have two examples for unilateral signs. We have the owl, which stands for the letter and we have the bread, which stands for the letter T. The bilateral signs are actually just a combination of two unilateral signs. So two unilateral signs put together in one symbol. You have different combinations of letters. So you could have, for example, K and A, K and P, or like in our case here, the crocodile tail, K and M. The word in front of you is read kemet, not kemet. The second M, the owl, is just helping us to read the crocodile tail kem. The owl is called a phonetic complement. There is no example for a triliteral sign in the word kemet, but we have something very helpful called the determinative. The determinative is actually nothing strange to us. When we learn reading and writing, we find often in textbooks a word written, like for example the word cat, C-A-T, and next to the word you find a picture of a cat. In this case, the picture of the cat is the so-called determinative. In the Egyptian hieroglyphs, determinatives are written at the end of the word. What you see here is a city from above. These are the streets, these are the buildings, and they are surrounded by a city wall. This is the determinative for Egypt or any country or city. You find the letters and the determinatives in James P. Allen's book or in Gardner's sign list. Gardner's sign list is a list also used at universities. It contains almost everything you need and it is very easy to find if you make a search for it. With this simple informations and lists, we are now able to read Egyptian hieroglyphs. But now back to our main topic for this episode, the genitive. We heard about the genitive in the Middle Egyptian language and now we want to learn about the genitive in the Sahiric Coptic language. The genitive in the Coptic language is very similar to the indirect genitive in the Middle Egyptian language. But instead of putting n, nu or net between the own thing and the owning thing, you put n or nt between the own thing and the owning thing. But when do we use n and when do we use nt? Basically we use n. But if the own thing is an indefinite noun, then we use nt. Now we are able to figure out what shamunim means. Shamunim comes from shmu, smu. Shmu means harvest and smu means herbs. Both words are put together into an indirect genitive construction, so the whole term means the harvest of the herbs. We have the same thing here with the Coptic language. Shom means harvest, nsi means the herbs, whereby n is the plural definite article. Both words are put together in a genitive construction, so it's harvest of the herbs. The word seem is still used today in the Egyptian Arabic language in the word bersim, which means young herbs. Bersim is used in Egypt for feeding animals. I'm now going to show you a part of an Egyptian movie where a vet tells a woman with a hiccup to drink a bersim juice so she can get rid of her hiccup.
طبعا هتشرف الحفله يا دكتور.
انا مش محتاج لعزومه يا فندم، ده بيتي.
بيتك ده ايه يا استاذ؟ انا عمري في حياتي ما شفت برود زي ده. انت مجرد دكتور حمير جاي تقدم مباراه بقى.
جالكوا كلامي؟ اهو ده الشحار.
ان ما كنت فشك من هنا.
اعملي لبخه ترد على زورك واشربي عريق كوبايه عصير برسيم.
Now we are going to practice what we have learned so far. I'm going to give you two nouns and a part of a sentence, and I want you to translate it with an indirect genitive. Our first noun is mo'o, which means water, and it's a masculine noun. And our second noun is aero, which is river, which is also a masculine noun. I want you to translate the water of the river with a direct genitive. The water of the river will be correct. The water of the river will be pmo'u and pa'ayru. How would you say the name of the queen? The name of the queen. Name is Ran. It's a masculine noun, and queen is Erro, and it's a feminine noun. The name of the queen would be correct. The name of the queen would be Piran and Te'erro. How would you say some stones of the mountain? Some stones of the mountain. Stone is Ona, it's a masculine noun, and mountain is To'u, and it's also a masculine noun. So some stones of the mountain would be correct. Some stones of the mountain would be Henone and Te To'u. How would you say a servant of the king? A servant of the king. Servant is Hemhal, it's a masculine noun, and king is Erro, and it's a masculine noun too. So a servant of the king would be correct. A servant of the king is U Hemhal in Te Perro. Do you remember the first lesson? In the first lesson I was always saying Pai Uma and something P. Like here. Pai Uma and oik P. Pai Uma and oik P. We say Pai Uma and oik P and not Pai Uma and Te oik P because Ma and oik is one grammatical cluster with the meaning bakery or bread stall more than place of bread. So this rule does not apply in this case. We are at the end of our episode now. I hope we have learned a lot today and that I'll see you in the next episode. Ugay!
نجدي قوم انزل في الخن من البرد. طيب قوم طيب.
Welcome back to a new episode of Ancient Egyptian Language Revival. If you want to know what this papyrus got to do with the upcoming sketch, stay with us now and watch the following episodes. Maren now.
Nanihu unemrefna, paran pemirit.
Au param pinifer.
Maren pise empehu. Nifert, ton pepegome ari ehmot.
Pigome. Si, emau. Pigome emma. Pigome hijen tiforshi. Pigome hijen tiforshi. Pigome.
Tishe behmot.
Imonehdi.
Maren now. Ten shirohne kente. Nifert, ton nini kente ari ehmot. 니켄트 니켄트 니야 سي إماو نيكنت إماو نيكنت خين تصلوا نيكنت خين تصلوا نيكنت تشبه مات إيمان أهلي مارناو تنشرح سئوح نفرت تون نسئوح أريه مات نسئوح سي إماو نسئوحة إما
نسئوحة خا بتوتس نسئوحة خا بتوتس
نسئوحة تشبه مات إيمان أهلي معنا تنشرح النيني نفرت تون بشوشو النيني أريه موت بشوشو النيني بشوشو النيني بشوشو النيني سي إماو بشوشو النيني إماو
بشوشو النيني هحتن تيبو إنجويت بشوشو النيني هحتن تيبو إنجويت
بشوشو النيني تشبه موت إيمان أهلي معنا تنشرح سوء نفرت تون بيبي سوء أريه موت بسوء أمون بسوء خي بيان على أون سوء خي تشؤون ناني أناو بشوش تنتشؤون إماو بشوش تنتشؤون ححتين بحناو بإيشوشت أمون بكيشوشت سي
משה איכון איתי שאונה אוהון אמפירוהיתן פשושת או אני הן סואו אירוי אריאהמות אמפירופש סוק אמפירו או תום אמפירוהיתן פשושת ונתאבו את בני פין
سي ناني
نفري نفري شيل نفري هالاتي أو نفري أمو
بسوء خين تشئونة بشوشت تقبو بسوء خين نشكيل خين بلكح وشكيل انت سوقو وكود انت سوقو سي ناني
وجي انت اهمو وجنبه هن كنه هن سمليك
سمليك
تشبه موت وكنت انت سوقه او تبوح امتكوك تهيكوني فرت تيوش وشوي بولخين بي يوم
امون مريت بايو لك بي طايو عكوتي
ولك وعكو تتنوش وشوي بولخين بي يوم
امون مريت.
We're now at the end of our episode. We hope that you enjoyed the sketch. In the next episodes we will discuss the grammar and some ancient Egyptian literature. Okay! Nofre, and welcome back to a new episode of Ancient Egyptian Language Revival. In this episode we will analyze and practice the grammar of the last episode. In the last sketch there were sentences like Pigome imao, the book is there, and Nikente geen tesallo, the figs are in the basket. In these sentences are no verbs. The predicate is here either an adverb like imao, there, or a prepositional phrase like geen tesallo, in the basket. This type of sentences are called sentences with adverbial predicates. Let's practice them together. Maren now. How would you say the fish are in the sea? The word for fish is tebet and the word for sea is yom. They are both masculine nouns and the preposition we want to use is gen, in. Correct! Ni tebet, gen, piyom. Mutin. Mutin means bravo and you use it when you want to say bravo to a group of people. If you want to say bravo to one masculine person, you say miok. If you want to say bravo to one feminine person, you say mio. So how would you say the woman is in the house? The word for woman is hime, a feminine noun, and the word for house is I, a masculine noun. Mutin, te es hime, gen pi. Now we want to say the snake is there. The word for snake is hof, it's a masculine noun, and the word for there is, as we have already heard, emau. Mutin, pe hof, emau. Now we want to say the father is there. The word for father is yod, it's a masculine noun. Mutin, pe yod, emau. How would you say the man is on the ship? The word for man is rome and the word for ship is goi. They are both masculine nouns. And the word for on is hijen. Correct. Pe rome, hijen, pe goi. Mutin. So how would you say a bird is on the ground? The word for bird is halit and the word for ground is kah. They are both masculine nouns. Correct. Uhalit, hijen, pikah. Mutin. Now we want to say a mouse is under the bed. The word for mouse is pin and the word for bed is chlok. They are both masculine nouns. And the word for under is cha. Mutin. Upin, cha, pitchlok. So how would you say the gold is under the brick? The word for gold is noob, it's a masculine noun, and the word for brick is tobe, it's a feminine noun. Correct. Penoob, cha, tetobe. Mutin. Now we want to say a rabbit is beside the tree. The word for rabbit is ratvat and the word for tree is shin. They are both masculine nouns. And the word for beside is hahtin. Mutin. Uratvat hahtin pishin. Now we want to say a pen is beside the book. The word for pen is kash, it's a feminine noun, and the word for book is gome, it's a masculine noun. Well done! Ukash hahtin pigome. How would you say the village is behind the mountain? The word for village is time and the word for mountain is to'u and the word for behind is ensa. Mutin. Petime ensa peto'u. So how would you say the horse is behind the house? The word for horse is ehto and the word for house is I, which we already had. Nane pe ehto ensa pe I. Mutin. The preposition gen means, like we have already heard, in. The corresponding noun to gen is chon, which means the interior or an inward part. This word is still used today in the Egyptian Arabic language, like we have shown in episode 3.
نجدي نجدي قوم انزل في الخن والبرد طيب قوم طيب
We are now at the end of our episode. I hope we have learned a lot today and that we see each other in the next episode. Ugai!
نبيلة يا بنت نبيلة شفيق وصل ايه
Welcome back to another episode of Ancient Egyptian Language Revival. This episode is an introduction to ancient Egyptian literature. When you study Egyptology at the university, very often one of the first stories you read is the story of the shipwrecked sailor. This story is handed down only on one single papyrus in Middle Egyptian language in hieratic writing. In this story, an Egyptian ship is returning back from a Nile expedition and is about to go ashore. Then a diligent follower, a Shamsu-Iker, tells his boss on the ship, the Hati'a, about another expedition at the sea in which he was part of. So most part of the plot is a story within a story. He tells him that he was with a troop at the sea to a trip to a mine when suddenly a storm arose and the ship got into distress and finally sank, with him being the only survivor of the whole troop. The word for sea is in the Middle Egyptian language wajwer. This information will be important in the next episode. The Shamsu-Iker was brought by the waves onto an island and spent 3 days in a shelter until he looked for something to eat. He found a lot of food on the island, fruits and vegetables, fish and birds. The Shamsu-Iker made a fire and sat in front of it. Suddenly he heard thunder and the ground started to shake. A giant snake with a gilded body came towards him. The snake asked him who had brought him to this island, but the Shamsu-Iker didn't answer. After that, the snake took him into its mouth and brought him into his dwelling place and asked the Shamsu-Iker again who had brought him onto this island. Then he told the snake how his ship had sunk and he had been drifted to the island. The snake answers the Shamsu-Iker not to be afraid and predicted that after 4 months, a ship with the sailors he knows would come and take him home. Furthermore, the snake told him that it had not always been alone on the island, but that a total of 75 snakes had lived here and that it had a youngest daughter, whom it called Ketet, the little one. If you want to know what happened to the other snakes and what will happen to the Shamsu-Iker, you can do so in the book Middle Egyptian Literature by James P. Allen. This book is a very good introduction to Middle Egyptian literature. Here you find not only the story of the shipwrecked sailor, but also other Middle Egyptian stories. In this etymology part, I want to discuss some words that appear in the papyrus of the shipwrecked sailor and are still used today in the Egyptian Arabic language. When the expedition ship reaches the port at the beginning of the story, the Shamsu-Iker said to the Hati'a, Ma'a pahanan khanu, which means, look, we have reached home. This Middle Egyptian sentence consists of 3 words and all 3 words are still used in Egyptian Arabic today. Ma'a means see or look.
الشمع اللي انت حطاه ده ولعي النور هو جوع وعينينا تتمقق.
Pahanan means we have reached or we have finished.
100 مليون جنيه؟ ما شاء الله انتوا اغنياء قوي كده؟
كنا اغنياء قوي كده. انما دلوقتي اللي حصل فانا مضطر ابيع حاجات كتير قوي منها الفيلا اللي احنا عايشين فيها ديت. احنا هنضطر نعيش في شقة الزمالك لطيفة وبتطل على
مستر عبد الله.
ايوه
شقة الزمالك بح.
اوكي.
Khanu means, as we have discussed in detail in episode 4, the inside, the interior, or like in this context, the home. In the story, the snake mentions its youngest daughter, whom it calls Ketet. From this word you can derive the word katkut, which is a nickname or a pet name commonly used for babies and children today in Egypt. Also baby chicks are called katkut or in the plural كتاكيت.
استني يا مدام، هدية علشانك حلق.
يا روح النن وريني كده كتكوتي كتاكيته بودني. يغدي يا اخواتي كل شيء صغير حلو. يعيش يوسف به يعيش يعيش يعيش.
Also the word nonna or nunu, which occurred in the last film clip, can be derived etymologically from the ancient Egyptian language and means baby, child, or something small or young.
هو اللي عنده عيال يعرف الراحة.
معلش بس لازم ترتاحي في السرير برضه.
The word صغنن is a mixture of the Arabic word صغير, which means small, with the Egyptian word nan, which means baby or infant.
هي الأمورة الصغننة في
الأمورة في النادي. عندها تدريب، متفوقة رياضيا جدا.
Now you will see a so-called sibua, which is a traditional Egyptian baby party you make for a newborn child. The traditions are commented in the clip.